15 minutes before the closing bell rings, we got a flood of earnings out today before the bell. Bank of America and Morgan Stanley, both of them topped estimates, but neither's moving pretty dramatically here. Morgan Stanley trading slightly higher after announcing it would be cutting expenses by $1 billion over the next year. And Bank of America beat. They had better revenues, but they are trading slightly lower by just about 6 pennies at the moment. The bank admitted that growing the company's revenue has been awfully difficult, and their CEO, Brian Moynihan, is right here in Davos, along with Morgan Stanley's CEO. A lot of bankers here, but a lot of turmoil, too. And that's where Fox Business senior correspondent Charlie Gasparino comes in.
You like my outfit?
Is this the Neil Cavuto collection?
This is the Cavuto collection. Little gold, just to show off.
Oh, man.
To show the ladies of Davos tonight.
Your whole outfit.
My wife is gone. My wife is at this retreat where there's no access to TV or telephones for 3 days.
Okay.
So I'm free.
So you can't embarrass her.
I can say whatever I want.
Okay. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Charlie, get to these banking earnings, because you had pegged J.P. Morgan as, yeah, it looks good, but dig a little deeper,
remember you had
it's not
some
so great.
doofy floor trader on talking about how great J.P. Morgan's earnings were last week.
Is that a word, doofy?
Yeah, he was doofy because he was touting his book, I believe. I don't know that for a fact, but that's my belief. He was touting his book because if you really looked inside of J.P. Morgan's earnings, and if you listen to what Jamie Dimon, the CEO, who will probably be here tomorrow, maybe he's flying in tonight, what he said about earnings is that it's a tough environment out there. We might have beat, I'm not sure if they beat, but they disappointed. We might have beat earnings because we cut so much. I'm paraphrasing. That's what he said. If you go down the line in all these banks right now,
Morgan Stanley.
What did James Gorman say?
We're going to cut.
We cut. They already cut. Yep. They cut jobs. Bank of America. You heard what Brian Moynihan said, who's going to be here tomorrow. James Gorman will be here tomorrow as well. He said again, difficult to grow revenue. So what you have in a highly regulated environment, and this is proof pudding, and I think we're going to be hearing some of this, particularly in the closed door meetings among the banks, the U.S. banks, is that the Obama administration has turned the U.S. banks into pure utilities right now. And that's why this presidential election is, after people get done complaining about how they can't grow earnings, how they have so many restrictions, how capital levels are so high, how they can't even trade, do proprietary trading, which really had nothing to do with the financial crisis. After that, they're going to be talking about the election and who's going to do what to Dodd-Frank. Will Hillary, despite her rhetoric, go out there and reverse some of Dodd-Frank's excesses?
She has banker friends. She has banker
Lloyd
friends and
Blankfein, who
donators.
unfortunately is not here, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, because he's undergoing chemotherapy, which I hear he's doing pretty well. Yes. But traveling, as you know, is difficult when you're undergoing.
Gary Cohn of Goldman is here.
He will be here, right. So Lloyd Blankfein is very tight with Hillary Clinton. And Jamie Dimon, I don't think Jamie Dimon exactly. Listen, I haven't asked Jamie who's going to vote for, but if Jamie had his druthers, he would vote for Bill Clinton again. Jamie's a Democrat, so there's a lot of Clinton love among the Wall Street CEOs here. James Gorman, I bet he's on defense. I know James, you know, he's met with everybody because that's what happens when you're CEO. I believe Jeb Bush has seen him, everybody else. But these are all CEOs that are very tight with the Clintons. The question is, does she go against some of her rhetoric and really do what they think she's going to do, and that's change some parts of Dodd-Frank, which is making the banking industry, which has turned it essentially into a utility. What do we mean by utility? Very low growth, highly regulated. These are not, listen, forget about this, the way they were before the crash.
If a lot of the voting public has a bleeding heart for the banks at the moment.
Well, you know, here's why look, I'm not saying have a bleeding heart, but here's where it hurts.
I get it.
Here's where it hurts the viewing public, when they can't get a loan. Right. When it's hard to refinance your loan.
Or when they get charged for their checking account.
Yeah, when your checking account gets charged, when you don't have more free checking account, where you get charged higher fees on credit cards, and particularly on lending to small businesses. The banks aren't doing it for a reason.
Charlie Gasparino, thank you very much.
Okay.